Matthew 25. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps, but did not take any oil with them. The wise, however, took oil in the jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom, come out and meet him." Then all the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps. The foolish ones said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out." "No," they replied, "there may not be enough for both of us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourself." But while they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the others also came. "Sir, sir," they said, "open the door for us." But he replied, "I tell you the truth, I don't know you. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know the day or the hour." What I just read, the parable of the 10 virgins. This is a parable that is, Jesus Christ himself told. Now, at the end of Matthew, we have a whole bunch of parables all in a row that have to all do with, the last day, or, when everything gets wrapped up, and Jesus makes it clear that the day and the hour is unknown. And then he tells several parables about how we don't really know the day or the hour. He does the parable of the 10 virgins, and then there's also the parable of the talents, kind of like judgment at the end times. And then there's the sheep and the goats, which is also a parable on God's judgment at the end. After that, there's the plot to kill Jesus. But the parable of the 10 virgins, might be kind of a weird name, virgins. But you know what? I just think it's, whenever the Bible uses the word virgin, it's not so much of, it's more to display innocence. Like, there are, like, in a lot of ways, human beings are created innocent, but and the people might be like, "Oh no, we have original sin and we're not created innocent." But you know what? God is so forgiving to us because he created us in a state of innocence, in a way. Like, when babies are born, they can't be held accountable for what they do. And in the same way that God created us with the propensity to sin, like, he could have made us stronger to be able to resist sin, but he did create, he knew that humans would fail. Even when Moses was writing Deuteronomy, and they were about to enter into the promised land, Moses, he predicted, or he knew that the people were not going to follow him. And in the same way, when God created us, he created us innocent. And there's nothing that you can do that God will not forgive you for, because, he knows. But in order to have free creatures, people with actual free will, where you could decide if you want to follow the light, where you could decide if you want to accept the way of love, where you could decide that forgiving your brother and your sister is more important than anything the world has to offer. Forgiveness is a sign of success. As if anything that you do in this world, God will not forgive you for, because he knows you better than you do. And he gave each person the propensity for faith. I think Paul says somewhere that each one gets handed, a measure of faith. So within this parable, this is a very significant parable. And I feel like it doesn't get played a lot, especially not compared to the Good Samaritan or the popular ones about Jesus, because it does kind of like send a spark down your spine when you hear it. So, like, if you are aware of the first century cultural understandings of wedding banquets and the type of lamps that they're referring to here, it's just like really opens up the parable before you. And it's so good to study these things, to get some deeper insights into parables. But what I want to say is basically this. It's like throughout the Bible, God describes his relationship with humans as like a husband and wife relationship, because and there's like a covenant similar to marriage, is where both partners agree to fulfill certain roles and to remain faithful to each other. But God knows that that people are innocent. They're so frail and weak. When the groom shows up, the party begins. You have to be ready for when he is. And if you're not there because you're not prepared, you're going to miss out. So at one point in the parable, those that don't have enough oil, they say to the people that brought enough provision, "Hey, give us some of your oil." And they were like, "No, like, go get your own. Go buy it where you're supposed to get it." And you might think that that's kind of mean. Like, here comes the bridegroom. Why don't you just kind of dip a little bit of oil inside the thing? But like, I've recently started to run, and I did my first marathon without a fueling plan, without having enough oil in my lamp. See, if you're gonna run 26.2 miles, 42.2 kilometers, you need to be giving your body fuel. And so usually what they recommend is they have these gel packs that you could take in your pocket, and it's like just a whole bunch of calories in a very small dose, and they get you to, it's smart to take sugar pills every 10 kilometers. Salt pills every 10 kilometers, because you're sweating out all your salt and you need to replenish this. So at my first marathon, if I was running and like going at intense speeds, and the average time I think is close to 5 hours in completion time. The world record is just over 2 hours. But anyway, so here in this race, can you imagine my first race as the foolish marathon runner? Can you imagine if I said to this guy who had been preparing for years to run this marathon so that he could beat his qualifying time by minutes? Imagine if I said to him, "Oh, give me some of your gel pack. Give me some of your gel pack, so that I could also get to the end of the race." And he'd be like, "Go and get your own. Like, you should have got your own at the exhibition at the starting line. Like, they were selling fuel packs back then." But of course he's not going to give me his fuel pack. He's got to make it to the end of the race. At the end of the race, he's like, "Away from me. I never knew you." To those foolish ones who didn't, who were late to the party because they had to go and get their oil. By the time they get to the groom, it sends a spark down your spine, because he's like, "Away from me. I never knew you." And it's kind of like, so many times we feel like we've come short of maybe God's perfect ideal, or the way we thought our life was gonna go, or the fact that we had to wait so crazily long for love to come to town. And lots of people say, "What on earth is taking the groom so long to come back?" But Jesus himself says that he just longs to be like a mother hen and to just embrace all of his children. But the reason that he's taking so long to come back, Peter says it too, is because he wants everyone to come into the saving knowledge. He wants everyone to come to the banquet, to be not only be invited but enter in. And so he's waiting, but eventually there is a finish. There is a time when we need to shake evil out of the world. The groom is going to come, the Prince of Peace, and he is going to establish his kingdom once and for all. He's saying, therefore, so, the whole point of this whole parable is, therefore, keep watch. Because you don't know the day or the hour. Well, the second coming is also well announced. The whole Advent season of Christmas points to the fact that the reception is coming. And for 2024, my goal is just to be somebody who announces the reception, teach people, and baptize them in the Holy Spirit. Get them the oil they need. So when Jesus is ascending, he says, you don't know the day or the hour. Remember all those parables that I told you? I am going away, but when I come back, be ready to receive me. Don't miss the party.